Diversity or discussing diversity is oftentimes complex and oftentimes driven on sensitivities and confusion and generalizations, and it can be very hard for a lot of us in society to discuss diversity, and I admit that, and I strive global citizenry and inclusivity. I wish the book would discuss that more, and what's out there for you and what you can do. But we're going to discuss a few things about social diversity in the workplace. I want to share other videos about, you're going to have opportunities to learn about culture, workplace etiquette, and as well as negotiations and how to solve problems in a workplace. So to me, it's like that understanding the basics of diversity is the baseline that can help set the tone and allow you to learn a little bit more about the different work environments. So without further ado, what is diversity in the workplace? Diversity is understood as human characteristics that are different from one of our own. And there are a plethora of different ideas of differences. People are unique in so many different ways, not just in age or education or gender or race. There's also sexual orientation or psychographic things such as behaviors, beliefs, lifestyles, and values, and also even other things such as mental capabilities and disabilities, where we have to learn to find diversity as something where it's an opportunity for us to grow together, to solve problems together, not to see it as a negative. You know, we should appreciate our differences and strive to understand each other. And that's what we want to address in clarifying diversity in the workplace, is addressing and understanding these differences, and hopefully increase our performance and increase our lifelong friends and enjoying our workplace and our community, and being a global participant in a bigger world. So advantages of employee diversity, you know, ultimately it's the right thing to do. I can always argue about, increase cultures or organizational cultures that have a balanced or dominance of women in the workplace has a 15% increase, or that there's a diversity has a 35% increase in sales and profits. That is not intrinsic in the value of why we should be doing this as a right thing. Yeah, there are positives that are leveraged in having diverse work groups and switching them up and increasing brainstorming activities and creativity. And that all comes with the risk, of course, not always getting along and having issues, misunderstanding each other, which is all too often. But ultimately, understanding each other creates a better work environment, and having a process to work about different ideas and opinions matters. And that's just the right thing to do, not some economic argument which one could always make. And to me, that's weak. So you want to leverage the cultural awareness, increase productivity, improve your company's image that you care about people. You know, for example, being in a movement like BLM, are you trying to really participate as a company, or are you taking advantage of it for increased sales and awareness? And I don't think, you want to be in that situation as a company, particularly internally within your company and your employees. So you want to be relevant, you want to be helpful, and you want to be inclusive. And that's a deeper meaning that no dollar can buy. There are challenges that you have to face with diversity or understanding diversity. There's unconscious bias, things that are innate based on experiences and social cultural conditioning. And what's terrible is social cultural conditioning is the elements that create it, and then they're backed by people's experiences. You can't deny somebody experienced something, but for them to convolute something as racial into a racial or gender issue is egregious in all senses of the word. So you want to have an awareness of your individual biases, especially if you want to go into international business. I love looking at market research through data equivalence and understanding our own biases when we approach a market. It helps me understand my own country and my own culture, but it's also important to understand that we are different and we have to be careful of our own biases that can affect that and cloud our judgment. Intercultural communication. We want to understand there are differences, right? So the concept of this, the concepts, for example, of race changes across cultures and eras. Things like considering others based on specific terminologies have changed. We don't say the word Oriental, or we say Asian, or specific to someone's ethnicity, or appreciate somebody's actual specific ethnicity, or something as terrible as saying, oh, well, where are you originally from? Those are offensive and not appropriate. You're basing it based on somebody's accent or their skin color or the way they look isn't appropriate. It isn't fair. And if somebody tells me they're from the United States or they're from California, I will accept that. That is appropriate for me to respect that. And when you look at ethnicity, we're describing shared cultures and through religion, language, and traditions. I explain culture and how it comes about in my other video. So definitely check that out on culture. But then there's differences of race within cultures, how African Americans are viewed in the United States versus black people viewed in parts of Europe, or how white people are viewed in parts of Asia. All vary across from different generations, as well as the cultural, socio-cultural effects on that. So always be mindful what you believe as race and color, or how it's viewed here, will be inevitably different elsewhere. And that adds to the complexity and the need to be inclusive and kind to people. Language, communication, and diverse social groups. We could classify people into subcategories or social categories by geography, economic status, ethnicity, or through language barriers. But for me, what matters is you're using it, the differences of people, as an appreciation for who they are, and want to understand people and increase your creativity and connectivity at work and around your friends at home. So that's the ultimate goal, right? And each country has different languages, and within that is different languages. How a person in Georgia will sound different than somebody in California. Imagine that even in countries like, say, Japan, Northern Japanese accent versus Okinawan accent, or dialect in North Germany versus Saxony or Bavaria. So, each country has their own dialects and business practices within that, and having that level of understanding or appreciation is exciting, I think, at least for me. Just be careful of blind spots. Not only do you have biases, you will have blind spots, and you need to be aware of those things. So definitely make sure you watch the culture video. Religion has their own differences as well. People have religious ideas of what's right from wrong, how that differs, in something as big as the topic of, birthrights, but also as very small differences about how people take time off of work, different holidays, different requirements for gatherings, social protocols, food allowances, such as some religions ban stimulants such as caffeine, or there's meat obligations like no meat on Fridays or no particular meat at all. And it affects the role of family and hierarchies in work and social life. So be mindful of that and respectful of those differences, even if you don't always agree with it. And there's a different form and a different place for those discussions. Definitely not at work. You're not here to change the whole of society. It's inappropriate. You're here to connect and work with people. Working across genders. Replace gendered nouns. That, language is a fascinating thing to me because it's in constant free flow as things have changed over time, and it's always going to change. One of the things, for example, was books usually management books alluded as he, as somehow the businessman was always the generic term. but excluded women. So they tried putting in during my time in school as he, she, her, him, and it's alphabetized because somehow that's helpful. Nowadays we say they, them. We don't. Why do we have to assess some kind of gender here when it's not necessary and it's not conducive to the argument that's being made? So plural pronouns are helpful. Working across different abilities, having a disability of myself, it's very important to understand people perform differently through physical and mental performances. It doesn't mean that that's a negative thing or a bad thing. That's a positive thing. People think differently. People operate differently, and no one should shun or put someone down because they can't do something physically the same as you. Then again, also don't put someone down for trying. If they want to try something because that's something interesting to them. Like I like playing a sports. Probably I shouldn't be playing like soccer, but I want to play, even if I can't play like maybe Cristiano Ronaldo, but who can anyways? Others have, different mental situations that they have to manage, and we should give them time and space to manage that just as much as somebody with a physical issue as well. And for me, that those are positive things. When somebody thinks differently, they're bringing different stuff to the table, and they can add to the creativity, add to the brainstorming, can actually solve problems because they saw it from a different scope of mind. So appreciate those differences in learning. And that's in everything too, the different modalities of learning, the different ways of solving problems or allowing people to speak based on their different cultural methods. So disabilities should be included. Speech impediments. Had one when I was a kid, and I sometimes still struggle. How people read or how they, struggle to stay on task. Help people work as a team. That's one of those ways, is in being aware and supportive. Developing an accessible workplace. We use the word as reasonable accommodations. If you can't, there are limitations to that legally, but also as a workplace, you need to be mindful of what you can and cannot do and help people reach those goals if possible. So focus on people's abilities. Work on people's different appreciations of time, language, and religious orientations, sexual orientations. All those things matter, and disabilities, for example, is one of those things. So I repeat myself there. I get that. But, moderating your speaking pace matters also when you're dealing with people of different languages. So just speak clear, speak appropriately, and do not be verbose like I just was. Working across generations. One of my things that we struggle in this country is how we look down on young people or how we look down on older people. We need to appreciate people's differences of style even in their generations. When somebody says, I think it's a joke to say, okay, boomer, that's not okay. They come with their life experiences and thoughts too. And, some things are not okay, obviously, but mudslinging someone like that is not appropriate. So understand that people have different generations, which could have an impact on their ability to understand technology, can have their impact on their ability to understand changes in language, but also they have people with experiences have a lot to bring to the table that can really add to the workplace. Understand different scenarios that may occur because they might have experienced it before and could have a better solution because, in this one time, I remember here a long time ago. So that kind of thing. So how do you combat bias? Just understand you shouldn't discriminate. You shouldn't stereotype or oversimplify. Do not assume things. Be patient. Because the ultimate goal here should be inclusivity. Inclusivity matters in all walks of life. In your products, your business culture, the groups you're working with, your groups that you're not working with your friends, your family. The language should be inclusive. And I want to say life is complex. Things can and will go wrong. But it's up to us to be a global citizen and include others to want to join our mission of allowing others to participate, not shun them or push others out because they may not reach the same ability as you or they may not, understand certain things. You want to include everybody and find ways to do that.